What is up, guys? Casey here with the Coyote Works channel. Heading out on another adventure. So I'm going out for a couple of days on this trip, and I've got a guy down meeting up with me for the trip on Instagram. He's Off-Grid Recon and Nate Zoinks. Super cool guy. Came on the Coyote Works group overland trip. So this first part of this trip, I'll be going through some country that I've been through before, but then we're going to hook south and we're going to head into an area, probably about a 50 mile by 50 mile little corner of this area down here that I haven't explored before. So I don't know what we're going to find down there. There's a lot of history in this country, so I'm looking for old homestead sites. I've got some ideas about where we might find some things. Nate and I are going to do some shooting. This time of year, the conditions can be a little bit sketchy out here. It's been pretty soft and there's some standing water out here on the road. But luckily right now it's cold, so the ground's frozen, which is a good thing. We've got tow straps. Nate's got a winch on his rig. We've got max tracks, all that kind of stuff. So we should be pretty well prepared. As soon as we drop over this little rise, we'll stop and air down.
Copy that.
Just making a quick stop to air down our tires. I'm going to drop mine down to about 22. Using this ARB tire deflator, which is a pretty handy little tool. Alright guys, we are aired down and back on the road. So our first planned stop is, I want to stop by that, you guys have seen this in another video, but I want to stop by this one of Bill Brown's homestead sites out here. And if you haven't watched the video on the legend of Bill Brown, go back and watch it. It's just a couple of videos ago. But I thought I'd stop there so Nate could get a chance to check it out a little bit. And I never get tired of looking over that place. You are basically driving across what is a prehistoric or an old lake bed right now, so you can see how this could get kind of problematic if it thawed out or we got a bunch of rain or something.
I agree. That's these ruts, they look a little deep.
You can see just standing water all around us on it. This is the kind of stuff you got to be real careful about, the choices you make of where you go out in this country. If you make the wrong choice, get yourself back in someplace and the weather changes, you might not be coming back out until the spring thaw. About 30 more minutes and a few more miles down the trail, we made our first stop for the day. One of my favorite little spots to check out in this part of the country. Yeah, so we just made a quick little rest stop here. Walked out in the sagebrush, and there's the remains of an old down building here. This was an old homestead site. It's just amazing. All this stuff is laying right back here in this old growth sagebrush. Some of the sagebrush is 6-7 feet tall. You can't even see our rigs are over there. I don't know if you can see them. But if you just drove by on this little road, you wouldn't even know any of this stuff was here. Right over in here, there used to be a building, and when I was, I don't know, in my younger days, I remember coming out here and this building was still standing. And then at some point it burned to the ground, but it was a pretty cool old homestead sat right here. You can still see the stone foundation.
There's a mattress.
Yeah. Alright, so we're back on the trail after a quick little stop there. Now we're on what was an old historic stage road that connected, the Imperial Valley all the way down to Stauffer and then on down to like the Alkali Lake area down there. So it was one of several routes to connect a bunch of those communities, even like the wagon tire area and everything. There could be really interesting historic stuff anywhere along here. So as we cruise along, we're just keeping our eyes peeled for any sign of anything that we might see. This road's pretty cool. It basically runs right along the edge of this rim this road just kind of follows this little bit of a hollow right along the edge of the rim through here. Got a gate in front of us. I always get a little PTSD when I come to a cattle gate like this. There's basically just water running down this road in here. It's still frozen underneath, so we're not sinking too deeply in it. But we're gonna have to be a little bit careful about where we go in here and understand that the possibility is that if we got a major thaw, we may not be coming back out these roads. So I just wanted to show you guys real quick. Remember earlier I told you about that we were following this old historic route. Well, you can see where we are up there. You can see to my left is the hillside, to my right is the valley out there, and right in front of us you can see this trace of the actual oldest historic route. And you can tell it's such because look how narrow it is. Like, see those two boulders right in front of me? Like, that gap's not wide enough for a modern car to go through. But the buckboards and the stage coaches that traveled this road back in the day were only about 4.5 feet wide or so. So it's pretty cool to see a pristine little stretch of this road here.
You can see it continues up, too.
You can see, oh yeah. Yep, you can just faintly see it. And usually this is the kind of place where you get to find it, is where it's coming, you know, up a rocky slope like this. And I just saw, looking through the trees, I just saw kind of this suspicious looking line of rocks out here. And
got eagle eyes, man. I'm a professional.
you know, it's interesting to think about this old historic wagon road that we're following. It really wasn't that long ago, you know, barely 100 years ago, when the only people traveling this road were traveling it in buckboards, stagecoach, covered wagons, things like that. And to think about this journey that we're making, probably the distance that we'll cover today on this road would have taken almost a week for them to cover back then. But it's just crazy to see how big and how vast this country is and how harsh it is, and think about them actually crossing it, moving that slow in a covered wagon. And the water holes were few and far between, and just imagine rolling along at that slow pace in the kind of technology that was in a buckboard with very little suspension or anything. Yeah, this appears to be getting progressively softer out here. All right, here we go. Few little soft spots in there, but all in all, it's pretty doable. I'm still moving forward. Now I'm getting deeper. Now I'm getting deeper. I'm gonna start moving a little bit. What do you think, guys? Do it?
How you doing?
Pretty good. You can probably come up to me at this point, and then I'll wait before I hop into the next bad stretch.
10-4.
All right, we're just a little ways. You guys can probably see the hill up there in front of us. We're just almost off this flat. And once we get off this flat, we'll head up into this high country up here, and hopefully somewhere up in there we'll find a pretty cool place to camp. Yeah, so now we're coming back up out of the flat, and we're getting up on top where the soil is a little bit more rocky. We shouldn't have as much concerns or worry about the mud. The next thing on my agenda is just finding us a spot to camp. Looking for some place with a decent supply of firewood around because it's cooling off fast and we're going to want a nice fire. And gosh, if we have a good supply of firewood, maybe some rocks to make a little fire ring out of and everything, I think we'll be set. Alright guys, well, as promised, I got us into camp before dark, and we've actually done some setup already. We built our fire pit and grabbed some wood because we wanted to make sure we got that stuff done before it got dark. I got a somewhat level spot for my Jeep with a nice view out over the valley out there. It's not the best spot that I've ever picked, but it's got all the right ingredients. We had firewood, some trees to give us a little break from the wind, so it's going to work. So right now, I'm just going to get my rooftop tent set up, get my bedroom all made for the night, and that'll take me about 5-10 minutes. I love the quick setup on this 55 Adventure Series rooftop tent with the gas struts in it. Nothing like coming back to camp to a roaring fire, huh?
A little harder to do on your own, right?
Alright guys, well, our camp's all set up and Nate and I have just been hanging out kind of visiting by the fire, but we are getting ready to have some dinner, so I'm going to try something new. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always loved sloppy joes. So I got a can of Manwich thick and chunky sloppy joe stuff, some butter here, some diced jalapenos, some cheddar cheese, some burger, and some Seattle's sourdough bread. So we're going to do sloppy joes, but we're going to try to do a little bit of a twist on them. So what I'm thinking is we'll cook up the sloppy joe stuff in the pan.
Sounds good.
And then we'll use the pie irons. We'll put a little sourdough, some butter in there, a little sloppy joe mix in between the two halves of bread. Have us a nice little meat pocket.
Heck yeah.
All right, so let's see how this turns out. All right, so we've got the ground beef browning up. I've got the pie iron sitting down there beside the fire, just kind of preheating a little bit.
Can opener.
Can opener, do you have one handy?
So you got your propane stove there. I'll use a real can opener.
Excellent. Those things work, but it's a pretty tedious way to open a can.
It is, but if you want to bring a utensil, you want to bring a whole utensil just for opening cans.
And then usually a can opener, that's the only thing that it's good for.
Exactly.
All right, so we got the ground beef all done, and Nate prepped the pie irons. He's got them sitting down on the fire with a little bit of butter in them. So now we're gonna add one of the secret ingredients, a little bit of diced jalapenos, and then the Manwich chunky. And I'm thinking what we want to do is we want to make this sloppy joe mix kind of thick.
Yeah.
We don't want it super runny, so we don't want it to make the bread soggy, right?
No runny food.
No runny food, no soggy bread.
You need to stick to your bones.
We'll just bring this to a simmer, and in the meantime, we've got our pie irons all prepped. We'll have it all ready, so when this is done, we can basically slap bread in the pie irons, stuff them with sloppy joes, cook them for about 1 to 2 minutes per side.
Beautiful. And then in the coals, right?
And then in the coals.
Half of mine sticking out of the pie iron.
Oh yeah, that's... If they only made bread the same size as the pie irons. Yeah, I think I too low a heat to start off, so it didn't crisp it fast enough on the outside. Here you go, first bite. What do you think? Not bad?
Oh man, it's better than you think, and you probably think it's good. This is delicious, man. The jalapeno, you can definitely taste the jalapeno. It's really good on a night like tonight.
All right, well, we got some dinner in us, and we're just kind of kicking back, enjoying the fire. It started to cool off a little bit, huh?
It did. The heat's nice.
Especially when you get a fire about like this, right?
Holy hell, man. I'm gonna lose my beard.
I'm gonna lose mine, and this is the first time in my life I've ever grown one.
Yeah, keep going.
We left the pavement at around noon today, and wow, we haven't seen another person, vehicle.
No, it's been pretty desolate. It's out there.
I don't even think we've seen a tire track on the road since that homestead we stopped at.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic day.
All right, guys. Well, we had a pretty fantastic day exploring today, and just getting ready to have a good night's sleep. I think tomorrow we got about 50 or 60 miles only to cross. It's getting really cold tonight, so it's freezing out there right now. So what I'm hoping is that everything freezes up nice and solid, and that if we get out of camp fairly early in the morning, most of the trail will be frozen solid, so we won't have to be dealing with the concerns about the mud and the water holes. So, oh, can you guys hear that? It's one of my favorite things to hear at night is the coyotes out there. I feel like it's my own personal serenade. My coyote brother's serenading me to sleep. So anyway, guys, that's a wrap on today. I'm going to try to get a decent night's sleep so we can hit some good miles tomorrow. So until tomorrow, Coyote Works out. I'll catch you guys for coffee. It's a brisk morning out here. Definitely down below freezing still, which is nice because the ground's hard and it was pretty soft and soupy by the end of the day yesterday. Just getting geared up. I see Nate's got a fire going over there, so that means it's good timing for me to go up and hang out by the fire, put together a little breakfast, probably go on a little morning hike, and see what the day brings.
The mud freezes overnight, which makes the door handle not work too well.
You had a little trouble extracting yourself this morning?
Actually getting back in.
All right, well, we're getting some breakfast in. This one of my favorite times of day, breakfast and dinner. So we got a nice plate of sausages going. I got some oatmeal going. I like to do a little oatmeal in the morning. I just have it sitting in the hot water there to keep it warming up.
Got some bacon on the way.
Where we're going today is trail that I've never crossed, so it only exists in theory on the map. So, and it does go through some low country, some more of those lake beds like we went through yesterday. All right, well, we flew our drones around a little bit, and I went off on a little morning hike and explored around, so it's almost 10 o'clock. We're going to tear camp down real quick and hit the trail. All right, we got our camp all packed up. Nate's in his rig. I'm just going to kick this fire over a little bit and then we're going to roll. All right, so we're just doing a quick stop here. This place behind us is actually Browns Valley Well. We're out in the middle of Browns Valley, and we're about 25 miles or so to the southeast of that Browns homestead, that Browns horse camp that we stopped at earlier in the day and that I included in one of my last videos. So this is still a part of his empire here. Well, the corrals here, parts of these corrals could be probably 100 years old, or maybe even a little more than 100 years old now. So here's one of the old pumping apparatuses. So this is a head unit on top of a well right here, and I don't even know what vintage this thing's from, but I'm guessing it was driven by some kind of a belt. So they probably brought maybe a gasoline powered motor out. So this windmill tower back behind me, that could easily be 100 years old. What's interesting about these water sources out here in the desert, at least to me, one of the things that's interesting is there's very few water holes. So they've been used for a long time. A lot of times at these water holes, you can find the very earliest traces of history will be Native American artifacts. And then the earliest homesteaders maybe hand dug a well that they actually had to hand hoist water out of the well by the bucket. And then at some point after that, as the technology increased or as their ability to be able to bring lumber out, they built a windmill. And the windmill, a mechanical device to bring water out of the well, to pump it out. And then in later years, maybe it got retrofitted with a generator and an electric pump. And sometimes even they added a cistern. So this is a great example of that, where we still have the old windmill tower standing there, but we've also got a more modern cistern, and it's been fitted with more modern pipes and stuff over the years. So this same well is being used today to water cattle out in this country, and has probably been being used continuously for like 120 years or something out here. All right, guys, we are just coming the last little bit. We should be within about a quarter of a mile or so of where the road ends, and we'll take off and go back to that cave. So this cave is where I was trying to get with Raptor Don on that trip, where we got his Raptor stuck. So, oh yeah, and here I am at the end of the road. So right here where I'm at is right where we got Don's Raptor stuck. And now, hopefully, Nate and I will actually be able to find that cave. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of a hike back in there, but with a little luck, we'll be able to find it. All right, Nate should be catching up to me shortly. He was a ways back there behind me. So I'm just gonna throw on some gear. I'm actually gonna put my pistol belt on for the walk in case we kick up some jackrabbits or something we might want to shoot at. Run the Glock 34, 2 extra magazines for it. And then I'll also throw on my Hill People chest pack. Alright, so we're just going on a short walk, but even for a short walk, I like to grab a little bit of basic kind of survival gear, and I see you've got some too. So for me, at least stuff to make fire, water, filter water. So I don't know exactly where this cave is, and this doesn't actually look familiar to me, so I don't think this is the way I came in before, but it should be just over here a little ways, so okay. We should be within about a quarter of a mile of it, so let's see if we can find it, huh?
Sure.
That's an old juniper tree. Oh yeah, guys, look at this. Do you see what I see? I think we're on it. Oh yeah, look at this. So it goes both directions. That way and back that way. So this is basically just a lava tube. Years and years ago I was here and I went back down this side, I don't know, maybe 100 yards or something like that. And there were some charcoal dates up on the wall. And one was from like 1902. So I think the homesteaders in the area maybe collected ice out of this cave. This cave would retain ice well into the summertime, or maybe even used it for cold storage or something. But we're gonna walk down in there and see. We probably won't be able to get far back in it. And I didn't bring a really powerful flashlight with me, did you?
I got a decent one.
Okay, so we might be able to get back a little ways. see the walls along there? That's all blackened by fire. All along there. This was a huge Native American shelter, rock shelter in here. And they built their fires along that wall over there. For whatever reason, there's no fire blackened on this side. They put all their fires over there, and it might have to do with the way the air circulates through here. And that's where it carried the smoke back up out. But one of the first times I came in this cave, somewhere right around in here, I was just pushing my toe through the dirt, and I kicked up a spearhead about that long. Look for eyes. See any eyes up there?
I don't see anything.
Okay. See, this is just a roof collapse,
Yeah.
and I bet you could scramble up over the top of it
Keep going.
and keep going. What's interesting is I see some pieces of wood up there. Could be a wolf.
Could be. There's wolves up here.
Yeah.
I met a guy at the get together that tracked it.
Holy smokes, it's getting warm out here, Nate. All right, well, that was pretty cool. It was nice to find that cave again. I can't believe how warm it's getting.
It's crazy.
The snow's getting soft, and I bet the surface is gonna start getting really sloppy. All right, well, that was pretty all right seeing that cave, but now the temperature is warmed up. I bet it's 50 degrees now, and so things are thawing out really fast. And we got some sketchy roads to cover to get to our next night's camp area. So we're just gonna cross our fingers, try to make some time, and hope that we cover ground before it thaws out too much. Oh, awesome. Well, we've just got a beautiful place to camp here. I love places like this with a big open view out in front of us. Nate's headed out to set up some targets. We're going to do a little long-range shooting at some point, so I'm just going to start putting the beginnings on getting our camp set up here. So firewood, fire reflective wall is probably what I'll start with. We'll see how much battery the saw's got left after all the cutting we did with it last night. But still got some life left in it.
Ooh, just under it.
Yep, hit. All right, so what I'm going to do tonight is some hot roast beef sandwiches with green chilies. So I basically just put some sliced, it's deli sliced prime rib, loaded it up, made kind of a boat out of the tin foil, added some green chilies to it. I'm going to close the tin foil up, wrap it up, and just set it down on the coals and let it heat up. Then I'll just put it on some bread and some cheese. So I'm just going to put a couple of slices of cheese in here on the bread, and then what I'll do is I'll just wrap this up in the tin foil and set it down on the fire. So Nate's got a steak going and some steamed broccoli. I'm doing the roast beef sandwiches. I almost broke down and just did a Mountain House meal.
Almost. I talked him into the other meal.
Nate said, man, you got to cook something.
this little air tube, and what I found is that your coals will start to die down after a little while when you're trying to cook on them, and this allows you to focus air onto the coals where you want it to heat them back up so you can finish cooking your food. And
that's perfect.
It packs down into your kit and doesn't take up a lot of space, but has been very valuable in cooking off-grid.
All right, guys, let's see how this is. So I got a nice piping hot thing of roast beef. And let's see how the bread, perfect. Looks like the cheese is sort of melted. I'll take it. Doesn't have to be perfect, right?
No.
All
right, I think I'm just about done here.
How's your steak doing over there, Nate?
I think it's ready to come out.
That looks pretty fantastic, huh?
Uh-huh.
Well, Nate's not looking. I'm going to steal a piece of his broccoli. Nice. That came out good.
Deal.
Hot roast beef sandwich actually turned out pretty good.
Nice.
It's nice and hot all the way through. How was it? Good?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we had some good dinner. Our bellies are full, and now we're just kind of kicking back, visiting around the fire. Maybe try to take a few pictures. We've got a pretty cool moon and some clouds up there. I just kick back and visit a little while, and I may end up just crawling up in my rooftop tent a little bit early and reading and just enjoying being out here. All right, guys, well, going down for night number 2. It's been another good day. Got a lot of miles on the trail today, but we got to this just really cool spot, one of my favorite spots to camp. This big lake here surrounded by these rim rocks. Will hopefully show you guys a little bit more of it in the morning. So we'll see what kind of adventure tomorrow brings. So that's all for this day, guys. For tonight, Coyote Works out, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning for coffee and breakfast. Well, good morning, guys. We just got up and moving around, getting our camp policed up. Probably have some breakfast, do a little bit of shooting this morning, and then roll out of camp fairly early. We got some serious wind this morning, and to me, sustained high winds is one of the most difficult weather conditions to deal with out here. So we got Nate cooking bacon down there behind the wood pile, a little break from the wind. I got a makeshift windbreak set up here, trying to get some water to boil, and man, it is a beautiful spot, but that's the choice you make. Is do you want a view like this out in front of you where you're open to the wind, or do you want to be tucked back up into the trees where you have a little bit more of a break from the wind? So we opted for the view. So we're taking our medicine this morning.
Yep.
Well, Nate and I split up to go on hikes this morning. So he hiked the other side of the lake, and I'm hiking this side of the lake. And we'll meet back up on the lake bottom down below. And the wind is just not letting up. But I found a nice little spot right here back up against these rocks, sun hitting me. And I'm just looking out over this great view, out over the lake bed and looking across at that rim on the other side, and really enjoying the hike. Right along these rims, there's game trails going back and forth, and quite a few actually fairly fresh deer tracks in here. So this would be a great place to hunt, is right along the base of this small rim rock. Nice little critter den back in here, and right between the camera and me is that pretty major game trail running right along there. And I'm seeing flakes of obsidian and various Native American artifact signs along here, so it would be a great place to hunt today, and it was a great place to hunt back then as well. So back up there behind me, there's a big old gray dead juniper with a bunch of wolf lichen, that green lichen growing on it. And one of the legends of the West calls that tree a ghost tree. And supposedly it's called a ghost tree because certain groups of the Native Americans believed that those trees were the ghosts of fallen warriors, and that was representative of their spirit reincarnated as that ghost tree up there. They're really picturesque and really iconic of this kind of area, this kind of landscape out here, is those old growth juniper trees, and after they die, they stand for a long time and they get that wolf lichen that grows on them and they just have that ghost-like appearance. A short time after that, Nate and I had reunited after our morning hikes and started making the several-hour journey back to civilization. Yeah, I forgot about this. It's been a long time since I've come out this way. I forgot there's some pretty rough stretches of this trail. Not really anything that's probably a risk of not being able to pass it, but a lot of stuff that's just a little bit tricky because the rocks stick up quite a bit, so you want to be kind of careful and make sure you don't knock holes in anything on the bottom. Our path home would have us journey up and over a low pass, work our way down the other side, and ultimately come out into the open country on the edge of the Imperial Valley. We would then venture about halfway across the Imperial Valley before we would finally hit pavement on Highway 20. Most of my adventures are solo, so it was a nice change to get to spend a couple of days on the trail with Nate. Really enjoyed the companionship, and it was another great adventure. I hope you all enjoyed joining us for the trip. I look forward to your comments, appreciate your support, and can't wait to see you for the next one. Until then, Coyote Works, out.